education on April 1st. So in light of where we are at in the bond program, and these first few slides, I believe, are slides that you may have seen before. They may have been revised slightly, but I'll just go over them quickly. An overview of the program: we currently have $457 million in bond authority remaining in measures D, E, and J. And so we do need to plan and sequence the remaining projects. The best opportunity to do that is to do a long-range facilities master plan. And that will help us prioritize, plan, sequence upcoming projects, including also Proposition 39 facility requests. Just a little reminder of where our bond authority, our targeted issuance schedule is we have, we just issued $135 million, as we talked about earlier. And in 2016-17, based upon the assumptions down at the bottom of the slide, which is $48 tax rate per $100,000 of assessed valuation, a 40-year maturity schedule, and 4% AV growth. Those are all the assumptions that our financial advisors utilize. We anticipate being able to issue $125 million in 16-17, $125 million in 18-19, and 102 in 2021. So our accessible authority from now until 2021 is $352 million. And then much further out, which if some of those assumptions change, those tails of those bond measures might be able to come a little bit closer, but we will not know that right now. But in 35-36, there's another $77 million in Measure J that's available, and another $28 million between Measure D and E. So those are out quite a bit further. So our cash balance at the beginning of this fiscal year was $104 million. Our recently issued D&E bonds, $135. Our available bond authority through 2021, which was on that previous slide, of $352 million. It brings us to $591 million of available dollars potentially through 2021. Now, we do have several projects underway already. And so for those current projects, including Pinole Valley High School, we anticipate expenditures of $347 million. Our estimated bond funds available 2019-2021 for upcoming projects to be planned in sequence, $244 million. And all these numbers are subject to change based upon, assessed valuation, and also our expenditures, which are estimated at this point. But just a note on that, several of our projects are coming to completion, and so, a lot of those expenditures are known.
Questions now, or do you gotta wait till the end?
How about at the end? Just a little history on our planning documents that we've gone through in the past. We went back to 2006 when the district did do a long-range facilities master plan, and that included demographic study, enrollment projections, land use planning, attendance boundaries, and also capacity analysis and future facility needs. A facilities master plan was also completed in 2007, which provided a roadmap for district facilities and our program, and it identified priorities and challenges at that time. We did do quite an extensive assessment of condition back in 2010, so that I have binders in my office that basically identify all of the deficiencies for all of the schools and the funding requirements. And we also had at the time in 2013 and prior, I believe, it was called the CAMP, the Capital Assets Management Plan, which basically was program revenue and project budget. So what we did is we've been looking at some long-range facilities plans, and we really looked towards towards cash under the Coalition for Adequate School Housing for the state of California. And every year, they give an award for the best long-range facilities master plans that are out there. And so up here are 4 of the school districts and related plans that won the awards. So some of the best practices for looking at elements of long-range facilities master plans is first, of course, research and discovery. You go through all the district documents, what they previously did before, and look at data and interview folks. Then go out and do facility needs assessments and related costs. Capacity and utilization study, that's something that the district does every year. We have current consultants who do that. Demographics and enrollment projections, same thing there. We have current consultants that perform that work. The educational specification review, we touched on that a little bit earlier. That's where we look at the district standards, the specifications, and go through that process of reviewing and keeping or revising. Then all throughout the entire process is really community outreach and input. And of course, implementation of the plan. So some of the things that we need to consider in our long-range master plan is we've really done a lot in our school district so far. We've had 16 years of a bond program that has done a lot of replacing schools, a lot of modernization and improvements, but there's also schools that have not been touched. We also are now getting more requests for charter facilities. So in our analysis and our planning, we need to take into consideration potential charter facilities. And district administration space needs to be considered in that review. So work already being performed, the enrollment projections, the demographic studies, all of those can be incorporated into the plan. And that's also one way in which I'm hoping we can be a little more cost effective than redoing all of that information. And then the cost and the timing to complete the plan need to be a consideration. So I actually reviewed some of these long-range plans and captured the prioritization process that some school districts use, and it varies a little bit from school district to school district. But many of them create a prioritization subcommittee to actually establish guiding principles, define priority categories. What areas do we want to actually develop and score and rank on projects? Community outreach and input, and then facility subcommittee input and recommendation, and Board of Education input and approval. So our next steps, we're going to be bringing this to the board next week, so we anticipate our next steps to be, if the board does consider this and want to move forward, is to actually do a request for qualifications first and get a group of qualification statements from the different consulting firms that would like to do this work. Once we get those qualification statements, we will review them and invite some of those firms to submit a proposal. So the RFP scope of work will be consistent with best practices, but must take into consideration, as I said earlier, the work that we're already performing. So the RFQ and RFP would indicate those areas that the district already has consultants working. And we would hope that the facilities master plan would be approved by the Board of Education in late 2015. I am looking at a 10-month time frame for this. So it may go a little bit further by the time it goes through the process. And generally, these plans take a minimum of 12 months. I'm trying to get it shortened down. I'm hoping with our work that's already been performed and by our current consultants and the work that has already been done at our schools will help us shorten that process. And that is it.